Hello, welcome back to the Momentum Podcast. This is Nathan Iverson, and today we have an incredible runner for the mayoral election this fall, Patricia Dawson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Nathan. I'm so happy to be part of the podcast. I was excited to be invited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you're an incredible woman.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
You're even in chatting with you some before that you're a very accessible person. You have the resume of anyone that you would expect to be running for mayor. 2011 Woman of the Year for California.
Oh, California Women Lead. Yes, it was I was the appointee of the year. Yes.
Incredible. And you've served with Schwarzenegger's administration, a couple different governors you've served on their administration.
I did.
And you have a consulting practice, and you've been on the school board, and now you want to run for, you are running for mayor.
I am. That's right. I think really, honestly, it's the culmination of 2 decades of public service. I just kind of felt like the next logical thing to do. You know, I've got mental health services background. I've got school board experience, planning, land use, water, all kinds of stuff. And those are all things that are going to come to bear in running a city.
That's awesome. When we look at your path, it's not the average path. Most of us don't run for mayor of our town.
Yeah, I know. And it's kind of funny because you'll say, somebody actually asked me once, like, well, what's the typical resume? You know, what's the typical resume for a mayor? What's the typical resume for somebody who's a politician? And there really isn't one. And in fact, that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of elected office is, it's the culmination of all your experiences and your results and projects you've worked on and your passion that bring you to a place that drive you to run for office and, be effective where you are.
So I'm guessing you don't perceive yourself as like that different of a person.
In what way?
but when we look at people in elected positions, people who are people of influence, it's easy for those who are maybe down the street, probably literally down the street from their elected leaders, and say, wow, they're so different. They have skills I don't have. They have their family's so different. Yeah. But I'd love to have a conversation today about your why. And you care deeply about this city. You care deeply about your family, about this region, about the state. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Many of us, we care, but we maybe don't care enough to make this sacrifice of, it's not, should you get elected, it won't be easy. It's a lot of nights away. What's your why? How come this matters so much to you?
Well, honestly, I know this is a cop-out, but I mean, I love my city. I love it here, and I really care deeply about its future. Now, a lot of people could say that, but I mean, for me, it developed over a long period of time. As a Riverside native, I was born and raised here. I'm the youngest of 5 children, and all my brothers and sisters left Riverside for opportunities elsewhere because, I have brothers who's a doctor. He went to med school someplace else. I have a sister who's an attorney. She went to law school someplace else. Wow. And I thought to myself, I saw this brain drain. I saw this fleeing. And I see that in young people today. My own children and their friends. I don't want them to have to leave. I want them to be able to live where they work. I want them to stay here in Riverside because this is where our energy is. This is where the future is in, nobody can see you, but people of your age and all the cool things that you guys bring to the table. And we better keep you here.
Yeah. How do you think? So, of course, people like myself and friends of mine, we want to stay here, right? We want to drive 5 minutes or bike down to a cool coffee shop. We want to have an event in our local park that's walking distance away that's my Friday night activity.
Yeah.
How can we create this Riverside that we want to live in?
Oh, that's a good question. And I do think, you'd get a different answer from a lot of different people who are raising young families. They want to have activities for their children, right? They want to be able to join sports teams. They want to have access to parks. Younger people who may not have started their families yet, they want to have satisfying, rich careers. They want to be part of their communities. They want to give back. So there has to be opportunities to be involved. And just on top of everything, right? Everybody wants to do fun things. We need to have good entertainment, high quality entertainment, good quality restaurants, things things, experiences people want to do. And I'm not just talking about going to a restaurant and having dinner. I'm talking about going to a restaurant, having dinner, going to a show, hanging out afterward. Yeah. We need to have venues like that in the city. And particularly, I think downtown is ripe for that.
Yes. Yeah, I want that as well. And there was one time this last year, I had family come into town from South Dakota, right? My sister who lives in Canada came in. We spent the night downtown and with a couple of friends and ended up being just walking around. We did find live music and we found like 4 different events just walking around.
Yeah.
And here in my mind, because even 5 years ago, it was a little bit different at Riverside than it is today. I was surprised. Like, how did we just entertain ourselves for the whole evening? Like, is there really that much? Is this happening every weekend here?
I know. And, the thing about Riverside is, honestly, we have so much here. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's just people don't even know about it, right? How many people have you had come into town and say to you, wow, I didn't know Riverside was like this.
Exactly.
I didn't know you had, on the one hand, it's kind of cool that we're like this best kept secret.
It is, yeah.
But on the other hand, it makes me think how many people within our own city don't even know that we have those assets here, right? We've got Santa Ana River Trail. Yeah. We've got our downtown. We've got Box Springs Mountain. You can go hike in the afternoon. Sycamore Canyon, you can go. You can go shopping downtown. You can go out for a great restaurant, a great meal, a cool cocktail bar. There's so many different things to do. And I think people don't even know we've got it.
When I moved from Seattle 5 years ago, I said I was moving to the Inland Empire. And people that had heard of the region, they said they apologized to me and said, I'm sorry.
Oh,
and it's the same thing when
knife through the heart.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
When I go into LA and I say I'm from Riverside, they say, oh, I'm sorry.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry for them.
How do we say that?
I am sorry for them. And
right?
It's so true. But, on the other hand, isn't this just the number one destination for millennials, I think, in the country?
More millennials moved here than any other city in America.
So, you've got people who are looking for affordable housing, looking for a high quality of life, which we do still have here. I mean, it's, beautiful city, beautiful. Yeah. Where else can you go? Drive down Victoria Avenue.
Yes.
Go to the State Citrus Park. Go downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots. Go to a fresh farm stand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
all within a few miles.
Right. So, there's a reason it's a destination. Now, the key there is right. I mean, we want to make it wonderful and enjoyable for people, but we don't want it to get like too much where we price people out, we price families out. So I think you do need to keep an eye towards keeping the city attainable for people.
Yeah, to have it accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because right now, what I think one of the things that makes Riverside amazing is you can be a middle income person and still afford to buy a house.
It's true, and really, I mean, where else can you do that in Southern California? It's getting harder and harder these days to afford. So, yeah, we want that to stay that way. We don't want people to feel priced out.
On the podcast, we talk a lot about making work awesome because I'm a workplace psychologist, and so a lot of our guests are involved in different workplace positions of influence, and some guests, like last episode, we had Cecilia Rios, who's a therapist, on talking about stress coping strategies for personally making our lives the best they can be, incredible during this time that's stressful for so many people. So in your role, making Riverside awesome, there's so many different levels. The personal level that we can choose this victim, oh man, I'm a victim of where I live, or I can choose to be an agent, like so many entrepreneurs in town. Our friend Stevie that we brought coffee from today, right? That he said, I want Riverside to be amazing, so I'm going to launch a cool coffee shop I want to hang out at.
That's right. And I think there are a lot of people here in town and that will say, I want to be part of the solution. And there are people who also complain about a lot and expect other folks to fix it for them.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who just want to step up. And it's our role in the government to get out of their way and to help them, right? And to give them the resources. If somebody's there and they have a good idea, we got to get them to the table. We got to get them the resources they need to thrive. And that's workplace satisfaction. That's community satisfaction. That's connection. That's where people really are going to blossom.
Let's paint a vision for Riverside 2030. Suppose you're elected and not, and elected multiple times, right? Mm-hmm. And then this is your next decade of life. Breath on that. This is a big deal.
Yes. If we could just get through this period of time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And you are one of the most well-connected people I've had the pleasure of meeting in town. Everyone in town, you know, whether it's parks, school board, all these businesses, you're very well connected to community leaders. So I think you're well positioned to achieve a lot over should you have a couple terms, right? What does Riverside 2030 look like?
Well, we have to have a big, bold vision for the city, honestly. And I think one of the things that I love about our place is that we have 4 colleges and universities, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge asset that we can draw on, where we can create jobs and businesses where people your age will not have to drive out of town. They can live where they work, right? So I think that's going to be a big thing. We're going to have a really thriving, diverse economy of small businesses, large businesses. Riverside is going to be a civic destination, not just for its own residents, but for people outside the area and internationally. It's going to be a hub of business and nighttime activity and restaurants and all kinds of great stuff. And, big, bold ideas, things like, a coursing river through downtown Riverside with a connection, from City Hall down to the convention center, connected to the Santa Ana River, with all sorts of cool sidewalk restaurants and rooftop bars all along the way. And, someplace people can go not only connect to the space, but connect to each other, connect across generations, across time. That's what I'd love to do.
We have such a beautiful downtown space that seems like it's well positioned for that.
We do. Downtown. But it's not the only space, right? In Riverside, we have, that's the beauty of Riverside. We have 28 neighborhoods here.
Wow.
And they're distinct.
I had no idea.
Yes, they do. And they're distinct in and of themselves. And I think having that character of those neighborhoods, we just need to make sure we have that. Everybody feels that unique, quality of their own neighborhood, and they feel connected to each other in that way. I think that brings people together in their own neighborhoods and gets them to be part of a community.
What words might you have for someone that is passionate about our city, but looks at people in leadership and say, people like me don't do that. People like me don't step into those kinds of positions. Well,
I have to tell you, so for a very long time, I have been involved in getting women into leadership. So I was, you mentioned California Women Lead. It was an organization, a statewide organization that gets women into appointed and elected office. And one of the first things I tell people when I talk to women, when they say, oh, no, that's not me. Right. I couldn't do that. No, is, well, who is it then? Whose job is it? Don't you think everybody started just like you? Yeah. Right? And I don't know if you've ever heard my grocery cart story. Have you heard the grocery cart?
I haven't.
Can I tell you about the grocery store?
Let's go.
All right, let me tell you about the grocery cart. So I was in my neighborhood one day, and my kids were very little, and I was taking them to school. There was a shopping cart out in the middle of the street, and I thought, gosh, somebody ought to pick that shopping cart up. I must have driven by that shopping cart 10 times, called Ralph's, told them to come get it. Nobody got, talked to my neighbors, nobody got, and I finally got so fed up one day. Yep. I pulled my minivan up, flew open the door, threw that.
The Grand Caravan.
It was. That's what it was. And I threw that shopping cart in, which, by the way, are very heavy. I have to tell you, shopping carts in the back. Drove off, went up to Ralph's, opened my door, threw the cart out, and went home.
Yeah.
The moral of that story is, if not me, then who? That was my job just as much as it was anybody else's to pick up that grocery cart. Yeah. And so I thought, if I can do that, I can do other things too. And I think we all need to really take on that sort of attitude.
Yeah, in psychology, they call that the bystander effect, right? That the more people that there are in a particular situation, the more likely we are to stand by the side and say it's someone else's job.
Right. And I think we do that in politics a lot. And totally with the advent of social media, I think you see that too.
Yeah. We all have opinions,
Right.
but none of us do anything.
There are a lot of people that do. There are a lot of very good people. Look at you.
The PLDs of the world.
You've got the podcast. Come on, that's doing something. So I do. I think there are a lot of people out there, and often what I will hear from people is they just need a little help activating, right? You just need to sort of, show them the right way or connect them with the right people.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm a connector, whatever that is. If you need to connect them with the right people, the right opportunities, and they can just take off and use their talents.
How do we discover our talents?
Oh, wow. What gets you excited? What makes you passionate, right? What are the things what makes you mad? What makes you sad? What makes you emotional? What makes you there? And I think the things that you throw yourself into the most and that you enjoy or you are, what is it? The thing that you can do for a long period of time and not miss the time that has gone by. Isn't there a term in that in psychology too? I think it's called flow. Is it flow?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's exactly it.
So
the state of flow.
When you get that state of flow in there's your talent, whatever that is. Whether you love to journal, whether you like to run, whether you like to go to a park, whether you like to cook, spend time with your grandmother, your family, all those things. There's where your talents lie.
What would you say is your flow? When do you feel most alive?
I know this is a really wonky answer, but I really love solving problems. I love really crazy, intractable, brain squeezing problems. And I love to be able to figure out what are the pieces of the puzzle that go together. And I get immense satisfaction in putting those pieces of the puzzle together. It's so fun. Just love it, which I guess is probably a good quality for a politician, I suppose.
Particularly at I don't know more about, at any level, it's complex.
Yeah, it is. It's true. At all levels, it's complex. Well, I think even in our personal lives, right? I think, and in your personal life, you can develop sort of maybe not such good qualities to ignore your problems. Well, guess what? In public life and
you don't get to ignore them.
Right. Well, but people try to, right? We often kick the can down the road, leave it for future generations to solve.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's the here and now. It's no better time to solve your problems than now. No better time to address it. So elect people that have the skills and the experience, the track record, the ability to get things done, and be able to trust that they won't kick the can, be able to trust that they can get the problem and get the job done.
Should you be elected, what are the first things you would want to do? Right? Don't they say your first 90 days?
Yeah, first 90 days. I mean, well, I have, what? Gosh, I have all these things. So I do have it, and I'm not going to go into it right now, but I do have a 10-point plan for economic recovery that I think we all should follow.
That's very necessary during COVID.
It is. And so I have that information. But I mean, one of the biggest things I want to do is really start a loan or a grant program for small businesses, small startups. Wow. Young entrepreneurs that may not have the resources. I want to be able to connect them to the resources that they have. So that's a big one. I think I would love to get somebody on board in the mayor's office or the city manager's office. Secondly, that is completely a liaison to our university and college community so that we can start leveraging those assets. And thirdly, I really think, we need to make sure that I want to have a robust economic plan that isn't just budget driven, but is people driven, that brings people to the table, involves everybody. I want to have a big, what they call what is it? I can't remember the name of it. You just bring everybody under the tent, and everybody gets a job to help design what they'd like to see the future. And that's something I want to do in all of our 28 neighborhoods. Is go through the city,
like a round table.
Yeah. So I think, I know it's a wonky name. Again, it's called appreciative inquiry, right? But it's where you go.
I love that word.
Yeah. Well, it's like you go ask people
finding the potential,
right? What they'd like to see. So those are probably my big top things I'd like to see done. I'm
imagining you, and it's a tight race, right? We don't know the outcomes.
Oh no, yeah. What's the? You always run like you're in last place. So yes, no matter where you are.
So at the risk of, I don't know, whatever psychological effect, but I want to ask you. You hop in the elevator. It's your first day at work. Mm-hmm. It's November, but I'm guessing the term starts in January, right? Elections are November. Mm-hmm. You hop in the elevator. It's your first day as the mayor of Riverside, one of the 50th largest cities in the country. You hit that button. You go up to, is it the 7th floor?
7th floor, yes.
Up to and maybe they changed the name tag. Maybe Rusty Bailey's name tag is still there. What's that like when the elevator doors open on the 7th floor?
I would just feel immensely grateful that people elected me and put their faith in me.
Wow.
That they would think they have the confidence in me to do the job, and I would feel so grateful and so conscientious about making sure that I did right by them. That's what it would feel like.
It sounds like there's a strong sense of stewardship.
Yeah. I think if you put your faith in somebody to be there, you need to get the job done. It isn't. It's not a seat warmer. You're there for a reason.
And one more kind of crazy psychology question. What imagine your 7-year-old self. What would she think? You open those elevators and she could see you stepping out of that 7th floor. And they fixed the name tag. It says Patricia Dawson, mayor.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen a picture of 7-year-old me? Because it's not a pleasant sight. Let me,
It came in yourself later.
Okay. Yeah. It's a pixie cut. It was a thing back then.
I had the mullet. So
7-year-old me, she'd say, wow, I didn't know a lady could do that. I didn't know we could have a woman mayor. That's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think I want to sign off with that vision of hopping out, the 7-year-old self, right? Saying, I didn't know people like me could do that.
Exactly. That is really, when I was 7, there had been no female mayors in the city of Riverside. So, you probably would never have seen yourself in that position.
What a fun way to be an example for literally half of the population of our town.
Yeah. And, I will say this, it's important for women to be elected, but it's just important in general to have a diversity of voices at the table.
Yeah.
And I say that with all sincerity. I think we need to have as many voices at the table. We have robust decision making that can occur. Then we can't just have one viewpoint. So,
of course.
And I do think that's something women do provide, and studies have shown women are able to provide a bridge to other groups when they get into elected office more than any other group that gets elected. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good. It's all good.
Thank you so much for joining us today. PLD.
All right. Don't
Next
forget.
mayor of Riverside.
November 3rd. Oh.
November 3rd. We'll see you. And you can mail in ballots, right?
I think it's going to be all mail-in, actually. I think the state of California is going all mail-in.
So don't miss the mail-in. Mail it off. You can drop it off.
Yeah.
And mark Patricia Dawson.
That's right.
November 3rd.
That's right. Thanks, Nathan.
Well, thanks so much.
All
this
right,
is the
thank you,
Momentum
everyone.
Podcast signing off. Dr. Nathan Iverson and Patricia Dawson. Thank you so much.